County women make their initial appearance in court this afternoon after one of the defendants told police she was trying to find her daughter and things got frantic and heated. Samantha Cavalli is in the newsroom with more on what led to these two women being charged. Samantha?
Yeah, Jeff, police responded to a home on Hazen Road in Bellevue early Thursday morning. According to a criminal complaint, a 15-year-old boy woke up his parents saying two women were running through the house. One of the women was recognized as Megan Jostrom, the other believed to be Angela Blazer. 37-year-old Blazer was charged with physical abuse of a child, second-degree recklessly endangering safety, criminal trespass, and disorderly conduct. 36-year-old Jostrom is charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. Jostrom's daughter has a boyfriend who lives nearby and is friends with the 15-year-old at the house on Hazen Road. According to court records, Jostrom couldn't find her daughter and tracked her to that house on Hazen Road. Once her daughter was found, she got in the car and Blazer drove off, almost hitting the teen's parent in the foot. And according to the criminal complaint, the 15-year-old then complained of back pain, had a welt on his back and red marks down his spine, and said Blazer shoved him into a coat rack as the women barged into the house. What makes this case unique is Angela Blazer and Megan Jostrom are roommates.
I'm going to order that you can have contact with Angela Blazer, but you may not discuss this matter. You may not talk about this case or any of the implications about it.
Some of Blazer's friends and family were in court today and told me they are disappointed with the charges Blazer was charged with and saying it was a wrong place, wrong time situation. Jostrom received a $5,000 signature bond and her next appearance is July 28th. Blazer received a $10,000 signature bond and will be back in court August 1st. Jeff.